Hi, it's Steve Morrison here, and you're listening to Chat with Chaps, chatting Millwall, come rain or shine.
Good evening, everyone. This is Chat with Chaps with myself, Joe Zampa, hosting because Chaps is probably lagging somewhere in a bar in Bristol, he's in a much more exciting place than we are at the moment. Today, guys, I'm joined by two panelists. We've got Paul to my left-hand side. Paul, how you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right, as good as can be.
Exactly. And then below, we've got our Danish correspondent, Jesper. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, despite the result, trying to stay upbeat. Yeah, all good. Thanks.
Well, that's it. Exactly. Well, look, guys, let's get straight into it. I mean, firstly, I'll go to yourself, Paul. What's your thoughts on today's games, today's performance? And we'll go to Jesper after.
Just Jekyll and Hyde, wasn't it? I think I felt terrible today anyway, hungover, I had a dodgy curry. So it weren't the best of the starts to the day. Been at work, got home just in time for the football. And 12 minutes in, I'm thinking, it just ain't worth it. It's not worth my time. This is ridiculous. And then we had that 20-minute spell in the second half where I'm thinking, right, this is exactly why I just love it. It's all come together. And then we imploded again. So, yeah, highs and lows, mate. Unfortunately, ended in another low.
No, I've got completely agree with you there, Paul. And it's a shame that it could have been a great away day. I feel sorry for those fans. 1 minute you're enjoying a high, you're getting back into it sort of 2-2, then you're 3-2 ahead, and then to sort of like get the rug pulled beneath your feet like that right at the end. It's a real shame. Jesper, what's your thoughts on today's game? Obviously, you would have watched it from Denmark, and what's your overall thoughts on the game?
Well, it was a strange game, wasn't it? Because I think we saw things that we don't often see with Millwall. A defense that looked like rattled at times. But the fact that we actually managed to get back from 2-0 down and then suddenly we're up 3-2, I can't remember the last time we did that, and that was a real positive. That we then, at the end of the game, then concede 2 sloppy goals is just very disappointing. And I thought when we went up 3-2, I thought we will at least get a point. We know at these away games that it can be very difficult. They will throw the kitchen sink at the end, and maybe we'll come away with a draw, which I thought would have been fine considering the circumstances. But just really, really disappointed that we concede the 4th goal as well and end up losing the game.
Yeah, obviously it's clear to see that today's performance, there were some sort of defensive frailties there. And man like Dan is in the chat. How you doing, Dan? Hope you're well, mate. Made a really good point. So he said, even Chaps and Co, same set-back partnership we've had for the last 8 years. I wonder why this happens. Not all our centre-backs today, but food for thought. So go back to yourself, Jasper. We touched on the performance. We touched on our defensive frailties. Do you feel that our defence, say, partnership with Cooper and Hutchinson today, they're just not up to the task? Are we putting it down to lack of fitness, or is it age? Where do you see the problems in today's performance?
Yeah, but I don't know. I think we're what is it now, 3 hours after the final whistle, and then all emotions are still high. I think 3 of the goals we're simply not picking up the man, and it's a simple communication who's picking up who, which is very sloppy. So I think it's difficult to point out some exact factor why these goals were conceded. But I don't think you should underestimate the fact that we have a new goalkeeper as well who has to communicate with this back four. He needs to find his feet as well. And we saw the same with Mattia last season. It took a while before he settled in with his defense. Whether that has caused an issue over the last couple of games could be, and that's not to throw Jensen under the bus. But it's just the fact that you need time with these people to sort of get into a rhythm. So, well, otherwise, I can't really say whether that was Cooper's, whether that was Hutch dropping in performance. Yeah, I think it could just be a mix of various things, really.
Yeah. How about yourself, Paul? I mean, do you blame anyone in particular? Is it a collective back four issue we've had today? Where do you see the problems, and will it get better going forward with Tanganga coming back? You like to think?
I like to think it'll get better. I think having his pace at the back it'll bring out the other qualities in the other players. The thing that's thrown me is just that there was such, the third goal wasn't too bad. I think they worked it well, but other than that, it's just direct balls into the box, which is our bread and butter. but we was never the first contact, and it just seemed like everyone, when you watch the goals back, I think near enough every goal, the defenders are all looking at each other as well. They're all kind of like looking at the other one, thinking, "That's your man. No, you should have him." And obviously, no one was taking command. And when you've said you've been together 8 years, you think you'd have that locked down. But
absolutely,
also, I don't think Hutch. I don't think Hutch is there to play. I know that sounds daft, but he's not there to play. He's in there at the minute because Harris trusts him, and he's there till Jaffet comes back.
Yeah, exactly. I think we all agree as well that when Jaffet was playing his best football for us towards the end of last season, it kind of almost got the best out of Cooper as well a little bit. We suddenly started seeing the old Jake Cooper again, didn't we? He seemed a lot more confident, a bit more assured. I think he felt comfortable having Jaffet next to him, some legs, someone who's got a bit of pace who can run behind and mop up if he made a mistake. Whereas I just felt today, you just see the nervousness in Jake Cooper. He wasn't as confident on the ball as he would normally be. His distribution wasn't that great. Hutch, to be fair, was being dragged out and couldn't get back in time. And and like I said, they're bread and butter, those chances. Those crosses coming in, we should be eating those up all day long, those defensive crosses. And the fact that we let so many of these balls get across our 6-yard box, and we kind of gifted them those chances. I think Harris even mentioned that in a sort of diplomatic way, that it's not the Millwall way, is it? It's not Millwall-like defending. And that was probably the most concerning thing. Dave Martin, good to see you, mate. Made a very good point there. On a positive, he said one good thing, we are scoring goals at the moment, but also we can't defend. With that, what is the difference in the start of our season compared to last season? Last season, it was a little bit painful at times, but although we were grinding out results, we didn't care because all we cared about was results, and that's what mattered. We were hoping for, more expansive, attacking football start of the season. And it seems like Harris is trying to give us that. He made a comment to BBC London tonight about, how he's trying to give the Millwall fans what they want. They want flamboyant football. I'm trying to give them that. But he also alludes to the fact he's trying to find a sort of happy medium, a balance between attack and defence. So to yourself, Paul, we'll go back to you, Paul, then back to Jesper Arthur. What's your thoughts on the almost change of style of football and what he's trying to implement into our style at the moment?
It's difficult to say why, but I mean, we're being clinical. I think that's number one. I think we are being very clinical. The Watmore goal, I think most of the time people would lash at that chance, but it's brilliant how he kind of caresses it in the far post. That was a great finish. And SA's scored another goal out of nothing. And then we've got a handball that it was a bit of a dodgy handball, wasn't it? But we've been very clinical. And he's putting more attacking players on the pitch, I suppose. But in a way, he's not, because Honeyman's in for Fleming. So we're down the goal scorer. I wouldn't say Fleming creates much, but he's a goal scorer. And other than that, he's got the same players. So unless he's given him a little bit more kind of freedom to go and attack up the final third, then other than that, there's not much changed.
No, I agree with what you're saying. And Jesper, over to you. I mean, do you see a real sort of change in these first two league games where Millwall are trying to play? Do you feel we're trying to play on the front foot, or is it the same as much as last time? What's the difference, do you think, at the moment? And why are we leaking goals?
Yeah, why are we leaking goals? That's a good question. I mean, the last game, I think, was just a fluke. The corner, the free kick from 30 yards, which 9 out of 10 will end up in row C. And then a deflected shot, which end up in the striker's path, who is maybe marginal offside. If we had VAR, we would come away with a 2-2. So, and I don't see us playing differently than last season, but I agree with Paul. I enjoy seeing us being more clinical. We are creating more chances, but I think we look the same defensively. I think today's just a matter of not picking up our man when the ball comes in from because we play very narrow today, and we let them have the ball on the flanks, which means that we will allow them to make crosses, because that's what Paul says is our bread and butter, and we should be picking those up easily, but we're not. So, and besides that, we're not being picked apart today. I don't look at a Bristol City team thinking, oh my God, they're going to be challenging for the top 6 or top 10. Far from. I just think we're just leaking sloppy goals today. And I think if we will be going to be playing this way going forward, I think we'll be fine. But it is maybe some adjustments, maybe bringing in a couple of more players to really get this team going. But as I said, with Chris last month as well, I'd rather that we lose maybe 3-4 and then we start to play a bit more adventurous, because we need to find more goals. It's been a problem for us for not just only last season, but for 7 or 8 seasons where we've really struggled to score from open play, at least.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because again, one of the interviews earlier today, George Saville was talking to it was Mark from Wall Talk, and yeah, he seemed quite positive about how we're playing. He thought we're playing a little more on the front foot. Now we're creating a lot more chances. But again, Harris mentioned earlier the fact that we're probably not taking our chances, and if anything, we're probably been the better team. For the last two league games. Okay. Portsmouth was great. It was a cup game, but the last two league games, arguably, we probably deserved to win against Watford. I think we kind of edged it. And then today, perhaps we created more chances. We didn't take our chances, and if it wasn't for our bad defending, we probably could have come away from there with a 3-1 win, maybe. So it's not all doom and gloom, I suppose. Dan Riggs just mentioned their writing was on the wall today when Essie came off for a defender. We officially have the oldest squads in the league. And the boys it's showing. So there's two parts to that question. Firstly, what do you guys think about the substitutions? I mean, Dan made a good point there. You were taking Essay off, and we're putting a defender on, moving Leonard to right midfield. Clearly, it didn't work. But can you see where the problems lie, Jesper? Could you see where straight away with that kind of tide sort of change a little bit in the dynamics?
I thought it was an odd one, and I think maybe we also subbed too late, despite the fact that we were up 3-2. I would maybe have subbed 1-for-1, Idemo for Essay. Essay looked tired, but as I wrote earlier in the chat as well, I thought he was the man of the match. I think he played a really, really good game, both going forward, especially defensively. If you saw him tracking back as well, defensively, something that he had to work on, and it's taking his toll. He was knackered and he needed to come off, and that's fair enough. But putting Leonard on right midfield was a very strange thing for me, as he hasn't. I can't remember Leonard having played on the right side of the midfield ever before. So that one I didn't understand. I would have put Idemo on, 1-for-1. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. And just question here for you, Paul. Dave, cheers, Dave, for the comment. He mentions the only problem in the team today was Jensen. If we played Roberts in goal, we would win games. We scored 2 against Watford. Jensen flapped, and 3, we lost 3-2. We play with Roberts and Pompey in the cup, and we win. Do you agree with that or disagree with that, Paul? What's your thoughts on that?
So far, I feel like it's not gone great for him to start with, but I wouldn't go that far. I feel he made a couple of good saves today. From what I've seen so far, he's making the Schmeichel type saves. So he comes out, he makes himself big. If they're shooting from close range, he's stopping it. At the minute, he's obviously, I think I see a stat, it was something like there's been 10 shots on target and we've conceded 7. So obviously, you don't know if that's his fault, what the XG was, all that nonsense, but it's not a great start. But yeah, I don't think in the cup they had a shot on target, did they, Portsmouth? So again, you can't really. So basically, the defence did their job that game, so the keeper didn't have to do anything. So yeah, if it was the same today, then Jensen picks up a clean sheet. But obviously, life doesn't work like that. I was going to say, can I just pick up on the other thing as well about the subs quickly? So I get that he brought Amaku and Danny Mack on because I suppose they're the senior players that he thought can see the game out. But I almost feel like that's where Harris definitely did get it wrong today, because even with them subs, he could have gone about it a different way. So he could have put Honeyman on the right, Leonard in the middle. He could have put Massey in the middle, Honeyman to the right. He could have done various different things, which would have made sense. It's almost like he's putting his fingers up to the people above saying, you're not getting me a winger. All right, we'll stick Leonard there, because as fans, you're thinking, what's he doing? But you also know there's no one on the bench that plays there. So
absolutely. And you wonder whether, I'm sure, we like to think Harris ain't going to do that. He's not going to try and give 3 points away like that, is he? But it does make you wonder. You see the frustrations afterwards when he's talking. He talks about, how things are and how he compared our bench to Bristol City's bench, the quality that they've got, bringing on players like Twine and a few others, and the striker who got their equaliser. So again, their substitutions make a difference, and we can't really, which is a little bit unfair to our players. When you look at the youngsters, you can't rely on those guys to come on and turn games around. Amaku, we've seen him do it in the past, but I think he had a bit of a poor game today when he come on. He looked a little bit nervous, lacked confidence a couple of times. I think he had one cross with his left foot, which went out for a goal kick. He couldn't get his foot around it. And then there was an incident, I'm not sure if you guys saw it, when he failed to sort of control a ball and it kind of went off for a throw-in. and you see Harris like going mental, like throwing his arms in the air, turning around, walking back to the bench, in anger, and it's frustration. I'm sure he's doing it for clear, emotional reasons. But again, these youngsters, are young. We talk about, bleeding these guys in. Jesper, do you feel that maybe we're asking too much from the youngsters, the likes of Esse, the likes of Amaka? We put such pressure on these guys at the moment, or do you think they're ready now? We've got to just let them make mistakes. What's your thoughts on that?
I think they are ready. I think Esse and Idemo is ready to come in and make a difference in the team. But I agree, that's not the way you want to show your emotions in front of a kid who comes on and try and make a difference. And what did he get? 10 minutes on the pitch. He's got more or less no time to make an impact. So that doesn't help his confidence going forward as well, knowing that if you're going to be subbed on and get 15 minutes, I better get everything right. Otherwise, I won't have a chance to start maybe next game or even play next game. And I think Idemo seems like a bit of a quiet character who might need a pat on the shoulder, where maybe other players, they might need a shout sometimes. So I don't think it was the right reaction, but I do feel that Neil is good at his man management, and we might pick up on that next week and maybe tell Idemo what that reaction was, why it was caused, and what the reason for it was. But when I saw it, I also thought, wow, that's not how you want to react in front of a 20-year-old kid. Definitely not. No.
No, absolutely. And Paul, do you somewhat agree with that as well? Do you feel that the treatment of, I guess, with Harris, with Amaku today was fair? Do you feel the youngsters are pulling their weight at the moment? What's your thoughts on the performances of them of late, and of course of Esse's today? I mean, Esse scored 2 this season, 2 league games now for him, isn't it? I believe so. Yeah. Although it gets Pompey, sorry, and then this one, so 2 and 3 games, which I think is a good turnout for him. Really, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. They're going above and beyond so far, the youth products, and it's what we want to see. So that's the upside to obviously the fact we haven't brought people in, and because if at half time against Watford, you was having a lot of people saying he's not ready yet, and give him that, get him off, and all that stuff. And me and my mate were talking in the stadium saying you're giving him the ball in the wrong place. Leonard was giving him the ball on the halfway line, facing his own goal, and then when he didn't create anything from there, kind of he was getting a few groans. All he was doing was just giving it back. If you get him that ball in the final third, mate, is a game changer. And Idemo was brilliant when he come on against Watford, and he was poor when he come on today. But that is going to happen, and I think Harris was more. Again, I'm not. It was poor. It was poor, but I think it's more of the whole situation. I don't think he was doing it at Idemo in particular. I think it's more like, what the fuck, we got an equaliser last Saturday. You threw it away the last minute. We've gone from 2-0 down, 3-2 up. You've like let it go again.
It's almost like a straw that broke the camel's back a little bit.
It looked broken, didn't it? If you've watched the post match, it just looks gone. He just looks exhausted and drained by it all. So it was sad to see, to be honest.
Which brings me to this point, Paul. I mean, Dan Briggs was saying that Harris, after the game, was saying he's got no knowledge of incoming players. It's a real weird answer he gave there to the reporter, because they're asking him a question about players and players coming in, and he said, no, honestly, I don't know what's coming in. And it seems like either he's been left in the dark, or he's getting pushed back at the moment, or they just can't land a player at the moment. What's your thoughts on the kind of recruitment front at the moment? And do you feel that maybe there's things going on at the moment that we should be calm about, or should we be worried at the moment? What's your general thoughts on that?
I like to see myself as balanced. I always try in life. I try and think, right, devil's advocate. I try and play the other side. Whatever way the cards are dealt, I'm thinking, right, from the other point of view, this is why. So for a while, I've been saying, right, we can't judge him until the end of the transfer window. And it still happens. If we bring in 3, 4, 5 players, if people leave and they're quality additions, then and we couldn't have got them done earlier, then right, okay, I can understand it. It makes sense. But at the minute, while I know it's raw because it was today as well, but you're asking Harris to fight with a hand behind his back at the minute. He done so well to get us over the line, and now we're gonna start our season behind. We're going to be playing catch up by the time we bring players in. So I just don't get it. It makes zero sense to me. It makes zero sense that there's no one. And then you got about the Celtic lad. That was good news. But again, that's not going to help the here and now. No,
absolutely, yeah. Look at this this point down below. Jasper, the goals we conceded today had nothing to do with being flamboyant. which is going by Harris's comment earlier, or the style of football we're playing. It was shambolic defending from defenders. I think we have to agree with that comment, don't we?
100%.
Yeah, that's what I said before as well. I don't think we particularly defended badly overall, but the crosses that came in, no communication. We let players go, and we're not picking up players. So yeah, I completely agree with that comment.
Yeah. Well, lots of comments in the chat. We'll try and get through these very, very quickly, guys. There's loads to get through. I don't want to miss anyone out. A lot of mention about our age of our squad at the moment and the age of our defence, and I guess, we've got Tango coming back against Hull next Saturday. I'm sure he'll come straight back in, and it looks like he'll probably come in for Hutchinson. Do you think Millwall or Harris, for that matter, was right or wrong to bring Hutch back on a 1-year extension? What's your thought? I'll come to you first, Jasper, and then we'll go to Paul after.
It's a difficult one. I think Harris will want that experience in the dressing room, also to guide maybe the younger players coming through. I think we have a lot of talent within the club, in the under 21s and the under 18s coming up, and to have figures like Hutchinson is good for them to share his experience, what it means to be a Millwall player. Had I seen maybe a different player coming in, yeah, maybe I would have hoped so. 23-year-old, 24-year-old with a good future ahead of him, Charlie Cresswell, Dan Ballard, that kind of player. But they're not easy to get, and they're too expensive for us. So we need to do it in a different way. So as long as he's got a 1-year extension deal, and I can live with that, and maybe they both know after that, maybe it's time for him to move on, or maybe go into coaching within the club or something like that. So I don't see it necessarily as a bad signing, but I see him as a backup for sure. I mean, it should be Cooper, Tanganga, and even Harding, and then Hutch, if you ask me.
And yourself, Paul, what's your thoughts on Hutch? Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? If we knew how we'd be playing over these last sort of 2 or 3 games before, we'd probably make a better decision. But was it a right move, wrong move? Do you feel it's good for the temporary cover for now?
I think he's at the club to do a role. He's doing the Alex Pearce role, basically. He's there to help manage the dressing room so that Harris doesn't have to get involved in stuff. At the fans forum, Gallen said about getting in a younger centre half as well. So I think he's been signed with then trying to move on other players in that position. Obviously, we know it's not going to be. And he's been brought in just as cover. But the thing that's gone against him, obviously, the alleged reason why he was released was because obviously we couldn't agree a deal. So I assume he's on smaller wages now, which is fine, and they've got that over the line. But in doing that, he started like 4 or 5 weeks after everyone. So to then come in and play the first 3 games because we knew Jaffet was suspended, that's not ideal. And especially Sinclair Armstrong against us. Honestly, I've watched him numerous times against other teams. He looks like Bambi, right? Against us, he scares the crap out of us. So in today's game, I know you don't just chop and change, but Harding did all right the other night. I'd have rather had him against him. He's got a bit more pace. He might do something wrong, but then I suppose that's something you've got to deal with. But Harris trusts Hutch, so that's why he's playing.
No, I agree. I do find it's a bit weird how Harding didn't play today either. I think with his athleticism, he's certainly a bit more mobile than Hutch is as well, isn't he? But I guess Harris is also thinking to himself, well, you know what? Tango's back next weekend. Let's give Hutch another game. It might be a while before he gets another appearance for us. Who knows? Unless it's a cup game he puts him in for. Jeff, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. So Jeff Chandler said, Ethan Joe, surely if we didn't know already, there has to be a rift between Harris and Gallen recruitment-wise. Do you think the board are waiting for Harris to resign because of it? Bold statement, but there's lots of rumours going around about, internal sort of politics and problems. I mean, Paul, we'll go to you first this time, and then Jasper Arthur. What's your thoughts on the kind of the Harris-Gallen relationship? I mean, none of us really know, to be honest. If we're all speculating, it's all allegedly that we're thinking this. But what's your thoughts on that?
I'll start with, again, the devil's advocate side of me. So Gallen's here to do a job. So whatever he's been told is probably what he's trying to do. So he might have been told, right, we're doing it Tottenham style. We're waiting. We want to get deals that we're not going to get elsewhere. We'll wait till late in the window. That's your job. You deal with a manager when it comes knocking at the door. It's Harris's job to keep saying, look, I want players in. We need players. We're short. We need to be better. That being said, when again I was at the fans forum, you could tell there was just something, a little bit of needle. A couple of times Harris would pass a question on to Gallen where he's like, you can answer this one.
Really? That's interesting.
Even I took my lad to the training day. It was brilliant where the players come over. That was all brilliant, signed the football for him and stuff. And when Harris come out, someone said, are we going invincible this season? And Harris shouted back, well, let's see if we can manage to sign anyone first. So there's all these little things that go on. So
do you think he's being a bit clever? Do you think he's like trying to use the media and the public and the fan base to sort of put more pressure on the club, on Gallen, because he feels he's not getting anywhere himself, maybe?
I think, yes, definitely. And he wants his relationship intact. When he left last time, it was sad, right? We was all gutted with how it ended. He walked away and he kept his head held higher, but it didn't end nice. And he does, you can just tell he doesn't want to do that. He's come in, he done better than anyone expected him to last season. When he was announced, being completely honest, I was like, what are we doing? That's not going to say. And then I was completely wrong and he done miles better. So I think he's a bit worried about the fact it's his reputation. Because if we don't get anyone in, hopefully we don't, but if we lost a Hull and then we struggle, get a draw against Sheffield Wednesday or something, suddenly his job's under pressure. We've signed 4 players, but it's him. He's the one that's going to be under pressure about losing his job. It's not going to be anyone above him.
That's spot on.
I get it, mate.
Yeah, and also for yourself, Jasper, from the outside looking in, again, we're only speculating, do we feel there's a rift there somewhere? I mean, it's clearly something not quite working, Is it bring back Aldo? Like everyone's saying, we wish for, what's your thoughts on that?
I don't think we should go down that path, but I would assume that you as a chairman, when you bring in someone new like Steve Gallen and you let Aldo go, you have a clear plan of how you want to run the club, how you want things to be. Surely there must be an alignment meeting between sports director, chairman, coach, manager, head of coach, whatever you call it, and say, guys, this is what we're trying to do. This is his job to try and do this and this and this. You do this and this and this, and then you should surely have some follow-up meeting somehow to say, where are we in the process? Where are we in the transfer window? What is it that we're trying to do? What players are we looking at? Because otherwise it doesn't make any sense to me. If it's just like Gallen sat in his office, Harris is on the pitch doing his job, then of course you're getting frustrated if you're getting no news or anything back from the backroom staff. Clearly, so that it would really surprise me if the club was run like that, and I just don't believe that Jimmy would allow it to be to be like that. So I don't know. He seems frustrated. But what is actually going on behind the scenes is too difficult to say. I would say.
I agree. And we'll start with you, Jasper, this time. We'll go to Paul after. What's your thoughts on the formation? I mean, we know Harris is a 4-4-2 type of guy. He hasn't really got the players to play the 4-4-2 system. However, there is Nisbet who could be available. We don't know what's happened there. We heard rumours. Again, it's all allegedly. We're hearing he didn't turn up for training. There's been problems. He wasn't in the squad today. Today we could have cried out for a Nisbet up front with Bradshaw maybe, or even start Langstaff, earlier in the game, gone more 4-4-2. But he seems quite stubborn, Harris, in the formation he's playing and keeping Honeyman as that kind of 10 playing behind Bradshaw at the moment, almost doing the Fleming role, but he doesn't quite do it as well. So do you feel formation is an issue at the moment? Do you feel, again, that maybe he's trying to say to the board, listen, I can't work with what I've got, and I've got to do this to kind of get through games maybe? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we could play a 4-4-2. He could have started Langstaff today alongside Bradshaw. I don't know. He's just a bit hesitant to do it. And what I would say is, like, for the first couple of games, we've looked okay. Yes, we're conceding sloppy goals, but we're creating quite a lot. We're scoring quite a lot of goals as well with one lone striker. So I don't know if it's something formation-wise. He could chop and change it. I was a bit surprised that we started in this formation at home against Watford, where I thought we would be more on the front foot. We would be maybe pressing higher. And I could maybe see us playing this way when we're playing away from home, sort of with a number 10 and then the number 9 in Langstaff, maybe Fleming behind, which I would definitely put in that role, or even Essay. I think Essay could also do a job in there. He needs to get the ball in and around the area. And as Paul said, not on the halfway line, 50 yards away from goal. He needs to get the ball where things happen in and around the goal. And we saw it today when he picked it up. And I don't want to compare him to a little guy who used to play for Barcelona, but the way he cuts inside and shoots between the legs, it's just, you see the potential is there, but he can't show it when he gets the ball in the halfway line.
No, I completely agree. And over to yourself, Paul, what's your thoughts on the formation at the moment? Do you feel we're playing to our strengths? Do you feel that we should play? I mean, there's an argument to say that when we went behind against, was it Watford? I think it was when a Maku comes on and suddenly we go for more 4-4-2. We look really dangerous, to the point that Watford on the back foot, we're really attacking them. Do you feel that maybe he's starting too defensively at the moment? Maybe you need to change the formation to be a bit more attacking and go for it from the start rather than change it when we're behind?
Yeah, it's difficult because we haven't got many players. The one thing I find out that there's not much you can change. Let's say if you could go 4-4-2, but again, it's even weird the comments he makes about Langstaff at the minute, Harris. He's kind of saying, yeah, he needs to learn how to press as a Millwall number. Yeah, that's fine, but
yeah,
look what he was doing. That's not what. Well, I suppose we do want him to do that as well. But you at Notts County, he's in the box and he's finishing off chances. So it should be right. We've got to learn. You're making these runs. This is where we need to get the ball so that you can score. But we're not. We're doing it the other way around. We're like, right, you need to stop all that. You need to learn how to run in the channels and try and win us a throw in up the line.
And play the Millwall way sort of thing.
That's what I mean. That's where I find it hard because I think the world of Neil Harris. So
yeah,
it's difficult, but that's the kind of thing you think. No, come on, you gotta go with the time. You can't just keep reverting to this. And Honeyman is the I think he's done a good job. He's got so much energy, and I think that's what Harris wants. He wants him and Bradshaw basically just a constant pressure, and that's how we've scored a few goals by winning the ball back higher up. So it's working, and that's why we're scoring more. But yeah, I just don't. I don't know when Fleming comes back again. I don't really know because you're not dropping Lionel Essay, so I don't know. I don't know where we're going with it.
Interesting question from David Martin. This is for the panel. He said, Joe, question for you in the panel. If Harris loses 5 games in a row, bear in mind he lost his first 2 league games, would you want him sacked? Over to you guys. I mean, today, you're hearing the fans cheering Super Neil Harris, and they clearly love him still, and even against Watford, I think they've still got a bit of a standing ovation at the end of it, even though we lost that game. So do you feel that he will get time, or do you think the fans will turn on him if he loses next sort of 3 games? We'll start with you first, Paul. We'll go Jesper after.
Obviously, we're all kind of fickle. You tell me that now, I say no, we won't turn on him. If it was November in the bottom 2 or something, maybe that will change. But I think because of everything that's happened, he'll get even more time, a bit more patience, because we can all see that he's not getting the players in, obviously, that he needs. Do I think Neil Harris should be the manager next season? Honestly, I'd probably not. I think he's here to do a job. And I asked him that question. I said, is that the plan? Obviously, when you come in, I said you was here. You said you was here for 15 months. Is that changed? And he said, no. I've spoke to the board, and at the minute, that plan is just to see through this season. So if that's the case, then I feel like we need to give him obviously the players, to do a job this season, so he can sign out where he deserves to be.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And yourself, Jesper, what's your thoughts on Harris? And are you going to be patient with him? As a Millwall fan, are you going to sort of stick with it and just trust the process and keep going, or are you going to be given a little bit of pressure with the rest of the fan base? Maybe the next sort of few games we don't get this the next win out of the way.
Well, there are 2 scenarios. If we lose 5 games in a row from the start of the season, and then the next 3 games, or if we lost 5 games, let's say in November when the transfer window is shut, it's 2 different scenarios. If we lose 5 on the bounce now, I would say give him time, because we haven't got the players yet. We haven't signed the players that we want. And it's also something I've been critical of in the past regarding this transfer window. It doesn't really only concern Millwall, is that I don't understand why it shuts at the end of August and not at the end of July, so that clubs can have their squads in place. Then you can allow the loan window to stay open until maybe end of August to bring in, necessary reinforcements. But this whole charade here is just, it's not good for any clubs. And it's a catch-up game, because we need clubs to sell players before they can sell their players, before they can then sell their players. So it's a whole domino effect that so many clubs are affected about. It's just one big circus, really.
No, I completely agree, and it does. It's weird. It's a weird sort of way of doing things, but I guess it is what it is, and it's been like that for a while. So I'm sure it may change one day. Ben Green, one of our sort of panelists with Chat with Chaps and that Millwall pod. Ben said, I'm just struggling with the whole situation. The club and the recruitment team must know we need players. Harris does, the fans do. There must be something going on. And again, we alluded to that earlier today. We don't know, we're only speculating, but it's clear to see that Harris is very, very frustrated at the moment where things are. We're frustrated, everyone's frustrated. And I guess, if anything, we need some answers. We probably need, Steve Gallen to have an interview with him, maybe. Why can't Wall Talk do an interview with him and ask him what's going on? What's the problems we have at the moment? I mean, we keep talking about getting a Millwall type player in. Is that the problem? I think Dan mentioned earlier, Dan Riggs, that Twine went to Bristol City for like 800,000. Surely we could afford that. I don't know what his wages would be, but there are players out there we could go for. But are we looking at them thinking, actually, they're not Millwall type players, therefore we'll disregard those? And we're really kind of like pigeonholing ourselves, and we're restricting ourselves almost with the sort of targets we're going for. And it's probably not quite up out there. You can almost see why I went for Langstar, because he is hardworking. He is a bit like Bradshaw. He's always pressing at the front and doing the Bradshaw thing. So, is it time for change now, Jesper? Do you feel that maybe we need to move away and step into the future a bit and do like the Joe Edwards thing, maybe, and look to evolve in how we're playing our football and attract a different type of player, maybe? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, again, two things. I think we do need to evolve in terms of recruiting younger players, and I think that is what we're trying to do, to bring younger players through, especially now signing up Alfie Messi is another good step. We're playing Romain. Idemo is coming into the team. And then we signed this Kelly guy now from Celtic as well. Who's also
Mayer last season as well. So we've got
Mayer last season as well, who's unfortunately injured now. And we have a decent youth set up with a lot of good players coming through, who we hope can also develop into first team players. And I think that's the path we need to go as well if we want to be successful as a club, because we can grow them into assets which we can then maybe later on sell for good value and good money to bigger clubs. And if we want to be successful, that's the way we need to go. So definitely.
Yeah. And Paul, over to you. I mean, supporting Millwall, watching Millwall for years, as long as I remember, we've always looked at Millwall teams as being, a typical Millwall team. Successful ones have always been based on hard work, aggression, up and at 'em sort of thing. Do you think that's a right thing or a wrong thing? Do you think we need to sort of step away from that, start evolving the way we're playing at the moment? Are we being too restricted in the type of player we're trying to bring in and attract to our club?
I like to think we could keep a similar style, but with better players. I think that's got to be the aim eventually. We don't want to be passing around the back like Joe Edwards was, centre back, because that didn't get us anywhere. So that's not what a lot of teams do it, but I wouldn't want to sit there and watch it every week. So I love the commitment. I love it when we're getting stuck in and we're harassing them. But you just want to see quality in the final third, which is where people like SA come in. And if we can get him involved in the game, and he is going to make mistakes. He was, like Jesper said, he was fantastic defensively today. I think that shocked me more than anything. I winced a couple of times when he's doing slide tackles in his own box, but he timed them perfectly and it all went well. So, I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing. I think even in, I can't think of who the interview was with, but Harris said that Jimmy wants younger players. So, and also when, again, I keep name thing in the fans forum, that was because obviously you can actually speak to them. So it's a bit, rather than just hearing what the press want to tell you, it's nice to actually hear the words come out their mouth. But Gallen said again, Jimmy said about the training grounds on hold. But if we can start developing players and selling them for a lot of money, that's where that money can go towards. So again, you're seeing a theme that this is what we need to do then. So, and I'm completely fine with that. You just got to forget that you need people for the here and now as well. We can't have too many just prospects, because it doesn't work. If you look at Peterborough, they're brilliant at recruitment, but as soon as they come up, they go back down because they don't have that spine as well.
Yeah, no, and obviously it's clear to see we can't punch with a similar, people, teams in our league at the moment. There's teams with lots of money and much bigger budgets than ourselves. We've got to find a way, and I think for us, it's making ourselves sustainable. Hopefully, when the new training complex is all built and finished, which is got to be a few years away from now, of course, we can start looking a bit more to the future, start building that sort of way. It's interesting to speak to a couple of players at the end of the season awards without naming names, and a couple of loan players who are used to sort of playing, around different teams, and they just comment about how poor our training facilities are, how bad the pitches were, and it's a big thing for them. It's like you going to work, and you're working at a desk or an office, you've got no aircon, you've got a dodgy, table that keeps breaking or whatever. There's always, you want to make sure you've got the tools to do your job. And I think that itself is quite difficult for us to attract players in. We're looking to try bring players in. We're showing around, our training facilities and whatever. It's not going to be a massive attraction. You look at clubs like even Sunderland when they're in League One. Their facilities are so much better. The ground, the academy, the training, and they're a League One team, and they were beating us to players like Ballard and a few others because they can offer all these facilities. So I think when we get that right, it'll make a huge difference to our club and attracting better talented players. But like you say, Paul, we're a long way away from there at the moment. We might need to sell on a couple of these big players to reinvest that money back into the club to then work on the youth system, then attract more players in and build that way. On to transfer rumours. So again, I know not much sort of talk about. There's been a few rumours about who's coming in and who might be going out and whatever. I mean, firstly, let's dive in very, very quickly, Paul, to Nisbet. I mean, it seems very, very strange at the moment. Lots of rumours and conspiracies about him not sort of clicking on getting on with Harris too much, or Harris not liking too much, and him failing to turn up for training. We don't know if it's true or not. We're just hearing these things and these rumours being mentioned. Again, he wasn't in the team today. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, have you heard anything? What's your thoughts on the whole situation there, really?
Yeah, I mean, I trust Harris's judgment again. I think that from what he's done for us compared to what Nisbet's done for us, there's only one side I'm going to be taking unless I know all the details, and obviously you'll never know all the details. So allegedly he is turned up not fit. I mean, you could see there was a lot of if you follow the players on Instagram and stuff, there's a lot of the players over the summer, they're posting stuff of their training, Joe Bryan doing stuff, keeping fit, Amaku doing it, and then Nisbet's every other one was eating nuggets or out in Vegas or wherever he was. So but yeah,
big difference. Yeah.
I said to my friend the other day, I said, I can understand if he's pissed off though, because why would you not use him in the League Cup? How can he not get any minutes? But he made a very valid point. Well, why would you reward him? If you're Harris and he's come back unfit and he does turn up late for training allegedly last season as well, and he's not the easiest to get on with, then 100% change my opinion. Of course, why would you then say, right, I'll reward you over the others because you need it, because you've not put the hard work in like everyone else. So the only thing I think we will struggle with is someone to pay his wages. I think Richard Cooley did a podcast on Friday, and he said on it that if we was to, this was before this actually come out as well, if he was to leave, it'd likely be back up north to Scotland. Well, I mean, maybe Celtic, Rangers, but then other than that, you're talking peanuts. They're going to be paying towards it. So again, does it help us him leaving?
Yeah, and Jess, what's your thoughts on the Nisbet situation? I mean, it was clear to see when he come back to pre-season, joking around, people talk about how he put on weight. He showed his face a bit puffy and he had a bit of a belly, and it seems like he's slimmed down a little bit, or maybe he's bulked up a little. I don't know what's happened. He's improved slightly, but he's not quite there. And again, you compare, like say, Joe Bryan over the summer and what he's been doing to try and get really, really fit after he's, after the surgery he had. Is it time to sort of say bye to Nisbet now and move him on, do you think, or are we going to give him another chance and hopefully Harris can try and mould him and get him to be the player we want him to be?
It doesn't really seem that Harris has a lot of interest to mould him, does it? I mean, when I saw Nisbet on Instagram from the training camp in Spain, I also thought, has he bulked up or has he just eaten too many nuggets? I couldn't really decide whether it was one or the other. But I think if he doesn't want to play for the club, we should definitely try and ship him off. And I thought, I'm not really buying too much into rumors because, one person says one thing and then there's another one saying another thing. But the fact that he wasn't on the bench today, I thought was a clear signal. When you put Tom Leahy on, and no disrespect to him, and Nisbet is not even in the squad, it tells you something.
And
because they had two goalkeepers as well. Truman was in the squad as well. And you saw the training video from, it must have been Thursday, Friday, when he was in training. Actually, he did show up for that particular training. Then there must be something to it, that he's on his way or he doesn't want to play. And if that's the fact, then I'd rather we ship him off to anyone who wants him. I don't know what team it would be, but get his wages off and then get a new one in, definitely.
Yeah. And Jesper, we'll come to you first this time. The rumour about Josh Coburn potentially, coming to Millwall on the basis that they sign Conway. The Conway deal, we believe, is done or is almost over the line, which could open the doors to him. I mean, again, it's all rumours. I'm not sure how the rumour first started. There's an argument to say that Chris Chaps started this rumour online, and it went around a little bit, so you might have him to blame, but it's certainly going around a little bit. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, have you heard anything about that through the media? Anything you've been reading on, and what's your thoughts on that?
I would say the Danish media doesn't report much about Josh Coburn over here, but I would say that I can confirm that Tommy Conway has, by the way, signed for Borough. He was on the pitch today for 12 minutes. He was subbed in, so that deal is done. And then they have this Lat up front as well, who is apparently their first choice striker, and I believe then Tommy Conway must be.
Play then today, do you know, or not?
But they usually play this 4-2-3-1 formation, don't they? With one lone striker up front and then this Aziz guy in behind. So I would think that Conway and Lat will be the priorities.
But do we know if Coburn played today or not? Because that'd be quite telling. Yeah, he got almost it wasn't quite man of match.
Sorry, Coburn.
Subbed on 90th minute or something. It was. He got subbed.
He started, did he?
No, he got subbed on in the 90th minute. They were 1-0 down, and he only come on in the 90th minute.
Oh, really? Right. Okay. So again, I mean, he seems like a really nice guy. And in his interview after the game, he talked about how much he loved wearing the Borough shirt and playing for Borough and what it means to him and all the rest of it. So he's got a lot of patience. It seems like, he's not like a player that's going to throw his toys out the pram. He's not getting minutes or getting game time. So I think he'd be quite patient enough waiting there. But I'm hoping, like you say, like what Jess was saying, with the signing of Conway, that now puts him lower in the pecking order, that maybe, he might decide, actually, you know what, it's time for me to move on. I mean, from what I saw of him, he seems like, and I hate saying the Mill type player, but it's not just a Mill type player. I think it's what we need in this team. We've got nobody up front at the moment who's got any physical aerial presence that can hold the ball up or run at defenders or, just hold the ball and allow the rest of the team to sort of catch up. We've got no one up there who can do that. I mean, do you feel, Paul, that he's the sort of player that might be able to kind of unlock us and help us in that final third?
100%. When he was linked, I thought, he'd be a good player. I've seen little bits of him. I think he'd fit in well. And then when I watched the game the other night, I was just thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? Full over.
Played too well.
Yeah, he did, mate. He did really well. And then you can tell from, I think he had an interview after the game, and he just said about he wants to prove a point to the manager and show his worth. So, echoing your thoughts, he doesn't seem like he's desperate to leave. But it's just if they need the money because of the fair outlay on Conway. So do they need the money to bring him for it? And can we convince him to join up? It would be a cracking signing.
Yeah. Go back to Nisbet slightly, and we will move on from Nisbet. But interesting, Max Grant, thanks for the comment, Max. He mentioned in Chaps' interview recently with the Scottish guy, he mentioned about Nisbet is known to force himself out when he wants to leave. I guess he did that when he was at Hibs at the time, didn't he, as well? Do you think, his antics off the field and not turn up for training allegedly, or even last season, apparently there was rumours that he was late and things like that. Do you think he's doing this to get a move away from Mill? Do you think he wants to leave, do you feel? Or, was it being a bit harsh on him?
Who's that to, mate? Who do you want to...
Oh, sorry, to you, Paul. Sorry, mate.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so, again, without knowing anything, it's hard to say, isn't it? It's hard to say. He's definitely got previous for kicking up a bit of a stink when he wants to get a move. I just get and you can't just say with all, but you do get the odd strikers, and we've had a few over the years that he's had a couple of very serious injuries. So it might be just physically he can't do it. Or he's come down, he's got his big pay rise, and he's content with life. You're not playing me, well then I'm going to turn up when I want, and I'll
fun, go out on lash. Yeah, exactly. Anthony Smith, good evening, mate. All the way from the northwest. Nice to have you here. Unfortunately, not as far as Jesper's come away from Denmark, but appreciate it. Let us know whereabouts northwest you are, mate, and it'd be interesting what you're doing up there. Dan mentioned question. Who's gonna want to come and play Harris ball though? Is it that appealing? This is for you, Jesper. I mean, do you feel that? Again, we mentioned at the very beginning. To try and bring a player in that wants to play for Millwall, play the system the Millwall way, is not attractive. And there's an argument to say there's not really many of those target men type players available at the moment who can play the Harris way. So again, does that make it quite difficult for you trying to attract players in?
Not necessarily, and I'm not really buying the slogan anymore that we're playing Harris ball or Millwall ball. I think we are trying to evolve as a team, and I think the way we played today, I think in the beginning, the first 20 minutes, again, we start to become a bit too reliant on long balls. We're trying to feed scraps, but then after that, we grow into the game. I actually think we play some decent football. So I'm not really buying that direct football style anymore. At times we are, but as Paul said, I'd rather that we mix it up sometimes than we play this tiki-taka bullshit, which Bristol City also, by the way, tried to play today, and they failed miserably at times. So I think what Harris is also trying to mix it up a bit. So I think when he talks to players that he's also trying to sell them a different type of style that we might have been used to under his previous reign when he was here 7-8 years ago, when it was very different and very more directly than it is now. That's at least how I see it.
No, I think it's definitely been a change. I think everyone can see that, and I think some of it. Do we give credit to Joe Edwards a little bit? What he struggled in. What we weren't doing defensively right. I think he was trying to encourage our players to sort of play with the ball on the pitch a little bit and play nice little triangles. And at times we have done that. We don't always seem to go long. We always try and play ourselves out of danger sometimes. We did it again today at times, which was good to see. So I think, we definitely have moved forward, not quite completely because we haven't got the players to sort of do that. But certainly, I think there's been a better balance, let's say, what we're trying to do. We still go a little bit direct when we have to. But again, we are trying to play football. And I think it's important you've got players like Casper Denor on the team who want to play football. They don't want the ball in the sky going past them every time for defence to attack and back and forth. So again, it's hard, but we want to make sure we get the players in that's going to fit into our system. We've reaching the hour mark, guys. We said we're probably going to do an hour today, so time's gone really quickly, guys. And I think the comments coming into the chat here, guys. Really appreciate what you're saying, and of course to you two for being on here and giving your thoughts and your opinions. But moving forward to the next game against Hull, there's some players we've seen in the last couple of games that have probably made a good case to start. One or two probably shouldn't be in the team, I guess. We'll start with you, Jasper, then we'll go to you, Paul. What's your ideal 11 at the moment? Who do you think should start for us against Hull next weekend?
I think more or less the same players. I think we need to sort of find a settled squad. Then you bring Tanganga in instead of Hutchinson, and you try to settle that back four with a new goalkeeper as well. Besides that, I don't see many changes. It's difficult to see past Watmore as well. 3 goals in 2 games. Then you can maybe question his performance in the first half today, but 3 goals is still 3 goals. And then up front, do you go with 2 strikers, or do you go with a number 10 and a number 9? That's a tricky one, but I'd probably play more or less the same as we had today, minus Hutchinson and Tanganga.
Okay, nice, easy.
And maybe consider Langstaff as well coming on earlier to give him some game time as well. Yeah.
Okay. And Paul, over to yourself. What's your thoughts for next game, and what change would you make to our 11 at the moment?
Just echo that. I know it's not great listening, but I just completely agree. I think you're going to see Tanganga come in, and unless we sign someone that's good enough and ready to come and start, it's going to be the same again. Yeah, I can't see Harris changing anything, to be honest with you. I think Tanganga will come in and it'll be the same 11. That's not particularly what you want to see. But unless someone else comes in the meantime, I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, that's fine. Funny comment coming from Anthony. Anthony, unfortunately, I'm not chaps. I'm Joe. I'm just sort of stepping in for chaps. I know people say that we look alike, or he's my older brother. But I can't, agree or deny any of that. But now Chap's in Bristol at the moment. He's watching the game, and I'm just sort of stepping in for him while he's there having fun down in Bristol. And Dan Riggs has just mentioned that Joe's a new Chaps. He thought it was funny. Ben, this has always been the issue with a Millwall style football has moved on. I don't think it's sustainable. As you say, Joe, there aren't many target men around now, which again we touched on earlier. Harris will always play his mates. I mean, is that fair, Paul? Or do you feel that he likes sort of play the sort of tried and trusted people that he knows, the likes of Saville, the likes of Hutch, and he sticks by these sort of people? What's your thoughts on that? It's
hard to argue with it. I do think if there's someone that's obviously better in quality, I don't think he'd be too stubborn. But no, 100%. He knows he likes to know what he's getting out of someone. So yeah, if he trusts them, I think that means more to him than a little bit of ability. Unless there's a lot in it.
There's an argument to say it worked for him end of last season, didn't it? He went with his tried and trusted, and people were calling why he's not playing Denor, why he's not playing Esse, why he's not doing that. And fair play to him, he got the results, didn't he? We were the most informed team the last sort of 40, 15 games. Jasper, to yourself, Dan Riggs asked a question, sticking with Jensen goal. So do you agree with that? Are you quite optimistic? You think he's going to sort of turn the corner and he'll get good? I mean, there's an argument to say that Sarkic didn't have the best of starts, did he, when he first played for us? People were wondering, whether he was right for us, but he come very good for us. And obviously it's sad with his passing now, but he came really good at the right time, didn't he? Do you feel the same happened with Jensen?
If Harris has made the choice that he thinks Jensen has to be the number one keeper, I say we play him and we do that consistently, maybe on a 10-game basis. I mean, for the next 10 games, see how it goes. And hopefully he settles in. I think you have to be very careful of chopping and changing with a goalkeeper every game, because it causes insecurity along the back four. So I'd stick with him. If Harris has chosen saying that he has to be our number one goalkeeper, then things can change down the line. If we see poor performances 10 games in a row, you might say, right, maybe time for a change. But I wouldn't just chop and change every game, putting on a different keeper. Definitely not.
Cool. And one for you here, Paul, just about Langstaff. Everyone's mentioning, what's the point of sort of buying Langstaff if you ain't going to play him? I mean, is he really getting enough minutes at the moment? Is he getting enough game time? Is I would say he should be starting against Hull maybe next week. I mean, okay, Bradshaw scored today, but it was only a penalty in the day. What's your thoughts on Langstaff? And do we feel we're not seeing enough of him at the moment?
Yeah, he needs more game time. Definitely needs more game time. 7 minutes definitely isn't enough. I think when Bradshaw come off the pitch, you see Harris giving him a massive cuddle, kind of like ruffling his hair. Just again, what the other guy just said about trusting certain people. You can wish, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I'd like to see Langstaff, because if you bring someone in and scored that many goals, you need to find out if he's good enough. We need to find out if he's good enough, and if he's not, then we need to bring someone else in that is, and he can be the support. But we know what Bradshaw can do. He does do a good job, so I'm not knocking Bradshaw. I do like him. He don't stop grafting, but
yeah,
bit of
I'd love to see Langstaff playing for us, starting for us in a 4-4-2, attacking football. We've got a marker on one side, maybe Esse on the other side, or what more, whatever, creating chances, putting cross in the box, all action, seeing him in around the box, see what he can do. At the moment, we're not playing to his strengths at all, are we? And that's the sad part. Steve, one of our panelists on our Chat with Chap show, just agrees that, look, you've got to start Langstaff, otherwise, why buy him? And that's very, very clear to see. Guys, we're going to wrap up now. So very quickly, in the chat, if we could get your predictions for the Hull game next week. What's your thoughts away to Hull? How do you think we're going to do? What's the score? Very, very quickly, we can wrap up. And we'll call it a night for tonight. But again, for you guys, really appreciate you taking the time being on here. I know it's very much kind of last minute sort of thing. But again, what you said, I completely agree with you. I'm sure the chat agree with you as well and your opinion. So we'll start with yourself, Paul. Anything you want to add and say before you leave us today?
Not particularly. I'm going to say we're going to win 1-0 next week, and we're going to make one signing this week. That's my predictions.
Who it would be? Who cares at the moment?
Yeah, that's it. Could be anyone.
Could be a cleaner.
Over the road. Yeah, that's it. At the minute, I think we're
taking tea lady. And yourself, Jasper, obviously appreciate you coming on, mate, and love hearing your thoughts again, like Paul's. what's your prediction for next week, and anything you want to add before you leave?
I think we will sign Kelly before the transfer window shuts, and I also think we will nick a win against Hull next week.
Prediction?
I go for 2-0, just because we seem to be on a roll. Yeah.
Okay, and we think the goals will come from?
Well, let's just say Langstaff, shouldn't we? I mean, it's been so unpredictable here in the beginning, so why shouldn't he?
Exactly.
And maybe another essay goal. I think he's looked really, really bright. One of the best here in the first 3 games, definitely.
Cool, excellent, brilliant. Well, guys, listen, I'm gonna wrap that up, and thank you as always. Thank you to the listeners, guys. I'm gonna say it, and I know you know what I'm gonna say now is let's get these subs up for Chat with Chaps. It's so important we get these subs up. The only reason is whatever money this podcast makes, any profits it makes, all goes to cancer research charity, which, again, I think all of us, some way, in some form, have been connected to friends or family that unfortunately we've lost through cancer. It means a lot. It's a horrible disease, and what better way can we help? For research and all sorts of things by raising money towards it. And to do that, unfortunately, Chaps needs to get 1,000 subscribers and a certain amount of hours of content. And that's not an issue because all of us can talk forever. So that's not the problem. The problem is getting the subs up. I think the last time I checked, I'm sure we're up to 870 odd. So we're getting there, and we're getting there quite quickly when you consider how long it's been since Chaps has been doing the content. I mean, he's been working his balls off, guys. I mean, he's
gone great, hasn't he? He's been working it hard.
He has, mate. I mean, he's got a very demanding job. He puts a lot of hours in. He works till night sometimes, and someone's editing stuff until early hours of the morning. Bringing content, bringing interviews of like Steve Morrison, Aidan O'Brien, and interviews with other teams and stuff. And there's a lot more to come. He's excited about what he's doing. The adrenaline's getting him through it. But what's really getting him through it is getting those subs up, getting to 1,000. So, guys, if you're listening still at the moment, I appreciate it. Please talk to your friends, your Millwall mates. Just say, look, do us a favour, add a subscribe on Chat with Chaps. Let's get into 1,000. We're not trying to be greedy. He's not trying to take over the world. He's not trying to be #1 podcast. He just wants to get to 1,000 so we can start making some money and give some money to charity. So I really appreciate it, guys. And again, to you two, thank you so much. Really enjoyed tonight's show. And to the listeners, again, if it wasn't for you, this wouldn't be happening. So I appreciate you coming on and giving your opinions. And have a good end to the weekend, and we'll see you soon. Take care.